Hey guys, I may have found the ultimate guitar practice tool. This is the Digitech Trio Plus looper, but it's not just a looper pedal, it's so much more than that. This is also a band in a box. You can play a simple chord progression and you can have bass and drums that play along with you. And that's really cool, but you can also do that in 12 different genres and then 12 different styles within each one of those genres. And that's a pretty amazing thing. You can also control the volume of the bass and the drums. You can change the intensity of the song, and you can actually change how complex or simple the bass is playing along with that. Then you can loop over that, and you have volume control over the loop, and then you can change the tempo of all that once you've recorded it, and it maintains pitch. So it's a really neat pedal, and it gives me a whole new set of ideas for practicing. So within each one of these genres, you also have this button in the top left, which gives you different guitar effects. So I can change between three effects, two different modes on here, but there's sort of a bass clean mode for each different genre, and then there's a mode where maybe you're just boosted slightly, and then you click, you turn this button red, you click one more time, and then it gives you more full distortion or lots more delay or whatever it is, but it's all based on the genre you're playing in. So we'll go through a couple of those sounds and let you check it out. The other thing that this pedal has, which is really neat, is it comes with a micro SD card built in, and it actually comes with an 8 gig card in it. And so what you can do is you can actually save off all your loops, and that's a really cool thing, and you can actually save them off as songs. So when you record a loop, it falls within one of these parts, and there's 5 parts, 5 different buttons up there that you can record different loops. Then you can actually choose to create a sequence of those parts, and then have those in a song be able to play back the sequence. So that's the ability to record and save 12 songs, but if you think of it as just individual loops, you have the ability to save off 60 different loops with this pedal, and that is really cool because my son has a Fender Mustang GT 100 practice amp with the Footswitch. It has a looper built in, just functionality, and the looper's super cool, and that's what really let me see the power of a looper. You know, that and Danish Pete on the Anderton's channel, because he's always using a looper. And so I was really inspired by that. So we checked out my son's looper, and it's really cool, but the bummer is, you know, you record this cool loop and you get it going, you're doing all these overdubs, and then you turn the amp off and it's gone. So the ability to save that off is really a neat thing. So this thing is so full featured, though, I'm sure I'm going to miss things. So if some of you are watching this and you know some of the other features about it, please let me know. One of the other cool things, though, is there's multiple ways to connect this pedal up and to give you different tones. So if you just have an amp, you can go straight out to the amp, and your looper pedal will pump out the guitar, the bass, and the drums to the amp. But it also has this mixer out, and this output will actually take the bass and drums and put that out to a mixer or a desktop speaker or whatever you have there, just something more full range and give you better tones for drums and bass. It also has the ability to do headphone out, and it's got a separate volume control here. So that's really nice because I took this on a business trip with me, was able to sit in the hotel room, and I just took this pedal and then I was able to loop, play with the band, have all my genres, have some guitar effects built in, and it was all through the headphones, and so it was super quiet. It was really nice. So one other piece that is really neat about this pedal is that it has an FX send and return, so that if you have a pedal board, you can go send and return here through this pedal, and you can hear all your tones while you're playing with your backing track, which is pretty cool. And the other thing that it has, it's a lot of things. It has the ability to control it with a foot switch. And you're thinking, what's a pedal? Why are you controlling it with the foot switch? Well, this is the FS3X Footswitch from Digitech. And this thing allows me to control this while it sits on my desk. And this is how I actually practice in the morning. I stay set up with this sitting on the desk, this under the table. And there's, I think, 3 different modes that you can put this foot switch in. and control the pedal in different ways. But the way I use this is in what's called tabletop mode, so that I have easy access to the pedal, to the trio sitting on my desktop, so I can change genres and styles. And this sits under the desk. And the way this works is the two outside buttons on the foot switch work just like the looper and the band switch, and the middle switch, which I don't use very often, allows you to toggle between the song parts. So that's a really cool, powerful thing to make this a really great practice tool. I don't know how reasonable that is if you were really trying to do all this on a pedal board, but who knows. Now, I will note, I don't know much about pedal boards, but one of the things that I had seen in other reviews and those things, this is a giant pedal, and it takes a lot of power. And matter of fact, it takes 800 milliamps. So I don't think you would set this on a regular pedal board and have it hooked up to a power supply. In the majority of cases, I'm not sure if there's power supplies that really could power this and anything else. So I've got the power supply down, in the floor, so it doesn't run on batteries. It's just on the power supply. So anyway, let me get this hooked up, and I'll get my little setup going here with my foot switch and my trio, and we'll play some sounds and let you guys check it out. All right, guys, I have the trio all set up here. So what you're seeing is this cable is going out to the foot controller, which is under the desk. This is going to my guitar. This is coming out to the amp. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to plug in the power supply so that you can see the boot up sequence. It only takes 5 or 6 seconds, but you'll notice that the style knob here, the LEDs around that will spin around 2 or 3 times, and then it'll turn solid and let us know it's booted up. So I'm going to plug that in. We'll see the LEDs start to flash in a circle. And then they'll go solid. Okay, so those are all set up and ready to go. So you'll notice there's a couple of LEDs. There's one flashing here, and then there's a small one over here, right? So these LEDs tell us that there is or is not a band recorded and or a loop recorded, right? So if they're solid green, that means we've put something in this song part. If they are flashing slow red, that means they're sort of ready, or they're empty. And then a sort of a flash red, a fast flashing red light means they're waiting for you to do, like to record. They're armed. And solid red is typically while it's recording. So in this case, we're in the blues genre, and we can look at all these genres and we can record a band. So what I'm going to do real quick, just to show you this, hear the tone. This is a clean. I don't have reverb or anything on the amp. So that's the clean sound with blues. If I were to go to metal, I think that should be the same. Right, that's clean. Now if I hit the guitar effects, even without the band playing, here's blues again. You may or may not be able to tell a difference there. I'll hit the effects again. So single notes. Hear a little, maybe tiny bit of breakup versus nothing. And I'll hit it again. Here, let's see. One more time. So it's sort of subtle in blues. Let me show you this on metal though, just so you can see the guitar effects and the impact it has. So again, clean. And clean tells me I don't have a light on here, so I know it's clean. The green light, there's going to be a little more happening there, right? And red is you can hear the distortion come on the amp, right? So depending on the genre, you get all different tones, right? Again, one more time, country, that's clean. Here's the first effect. Not much different, maybe a little delay there. And here's the full-on effect. So those are our different effects. So you'll see me reach up and touch that sometimes while I'm doing it. So for now, I'll just go back to blues. So what we want to do is we want to teach the trio a song, right? So I'm gonna pick a little progression here, and putting my telly on the neck position, I'm actually going to roll off the volume just a little bit so that when I record my loop, it'll be a little behind in the mix, and then once I go play lead, I can turn all this up on the guitar to give myself some natural boost. So just a little though. So what I'm going to do here, the flashing red light indicates that I'm not doing anything. We're on part 1 of the song. I'm going to actually hit this band button, and it's going to be ready for me to record. So I'm going to hit this. You can see the light now flashes more quickly, and I'm going to record a progression, and I'm actually going to use my foot to stop recording at the progression, right? But it's really just clicking this button on the right. So we'll do this progression and let the band learn the song. So here we go. So you can see the light turned green and the band automatically started playing as soon as I finished, right? As when I clicked the button, the band started. So to stop that, I just click the button. Now, if I didn't like that recording, for some reason, I got the wrong chord, I can hold this button down for 2 seconds. It clears the recording, and this light goes back to that slow flashing red. So now that we have a band recording, right, we can change the style and the genre. So just to take you through that real quickly with this, just so you can get an idea. So in this case, it's style 1, and we can start talking through these styles, and you'll hear different things happening. This is still blues. And if I recall the way the lights work, it's like based on your progression and your tempo. I think the green LEDs represent the most recommended recording, or most recommended style, and then the orange are more alternates. And then what you'll see over here is if I get closer, number 10, 11, and 12, those banks are not lit up at all. But this is actually for 3/4 time. So if I actually change that, it's going to treat it like I was playing in 3/4 time and make the band play in 3/4 time, which is sort of a cool thing. So like I said, you know, these are all different styles that you're playing with in blues. Now there's also an alt time, and you can change that up and actually make it have an alternate time. So there you go. So you can see those. So that's the blues genre in multiple styles, right? So I have the ability to turn the drums up, and I have the ability to turn the bass up, right? I also have the ability to change the intensity of the song right from the backing band. So I can just click this button, and when this is red, now you're going to hear more happening. There's going to just be more intensity there, and depending on which style I pick, so you can hear him riding like a cymbal or a hi-hat or something. But if I turn that off, that's just a little lower volume. It still exists though. But I can also change the bass line to make it more simple. So I can go where it's more like, I think maybe a 1 and a 5 kind of thing happening. Or if I hit and turn this button red for simple bass, he's only going to hit the root on a chord change and just hold it and do more like whole notes. I particularly like the bass doing more, so that's cool. So I'm putting that back on. So you have some control over the band there, which is neat. Again, I'm not going to go through every style and every genre here, but it gives you some idea of what's happening, right? And then, like I said, we can use these guitar effects to then, put us ahead of the mix, right? It's alt rock. Here's metal. And again, we can change the style here, right? It's not what we want. Pop, E-pop, hip hop, country, folk. So Latin, the drums are always fun. And jazz. Right? So there's all those settings. But again, we're just hearing the bass and the drums, right? When I taught the band the song, it didn't actually record my chords. So to do that, we need to actually loop and record the chords. All right, so there's a couple ways to record loops with the backing track and with the band. So the first is the band's playing, and I can hit the looper while the band's playing along its progression. And what it's going to do is it's going to arm the looper, and then once the progression comes back around, it'll start recording for us. So that's one method. The other method is we can arm the looper up front and then have the band start playing, and it'll record that way. So I tend to use the second methodology more, but I'm going to show you both ways because they're both cool and they're both a little different. But to get our chord progression in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the band start playing. I'm going to tell it to record. But what you'll notice is it's not going to record immediately. It's going to put it in that flashing, the fast flashing red light mode until the band comes around the progression, and then it'll go solid red. Right, and I think that's one thing about this looper that's pretty unique is the ability to get in sync with the band and not just be trying to record a loop. So here we go. I'm going to start the band. I'm going to start the looper. The band will be playing. The looper will be in its armed mode, ready to record. And then when we come around the progression and we get back, this light will go red. I'm not clicking any buttons in that case. And it's going to stay red until it gets to the end of the progression, and then it's going to stop recording. So in this case, I'm going to hit start on the band, I'm going to hit start on the looper, and I don't have to stop the looper when it comes around the progression. And I don't have to time the looper to get to the front of the progression, right? It's just going to be there. So here we go, band and looper. And notice the looper is armed. Back to the beginning of the progression. Now I didn't hit any buttons there, right? I didn't use the foot switch or anything. So I've got my loop and I've got my progression happening. Now my volume's not super loud on the guitar, right? So if I want to turn the loop up, I can pull the band down a little. So I'm cool with this, right? So I've got the loops playing, the band's playing, and the loop is playing. Now if I want to overdub, then I can click this again, and I'm in overdub mode, and it doesn't wait for the band to come around or anything. You're just overdubbing, right? And you click it again. But if I wasn't happy with this loop for some reason, right, I can go back and I can press this button and hold it down for 2 seconds, and this bank will go back to red. So I'm going to do that just to show you. All right, so the loop is gone. So if I hit play again, just the band. So that's one method for recording, right? Start the band, start the loop. When it comes back around the progression, yeah, you're recording. The other method is we can actually get this button flashing just by clicking it or holding it down for a second. And then what's going to happen is we're going to get a 4-beat count in from the band, right? And so if I hit play now, you hear that, which is cool. So I'm going to use that to get us on track, right? So I'm going to get a 4-beat count in, and I'm going to put the looper in arm mode so it's ready to record. And so now what's going to happen is when I hit play, we're going to get 4 clicks to count us in, and then we're recording the loop, right? So again, slightly different than the other methodology to loop when you come around the progression. Both are fun and both work well, so it's really what you're more comfortable with. If you know, I think in some ways playing along the chords with the band, and when you come around to the beginning of the progression, that's way easier in some methods, right? But sometimes it's easier just to say, hey, I'm counting in, click, 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 record. So I'm going to use my foot switch to actually press this button. We'll hear 4 drum clicks, and then we're recording the loop. And again, the loop will stop when it gets to the end of the progression, so I don't have to click the looper again. So here we go. All right, you saw the light turn green and we've got our progression in, right? So I'll say that's good enough. Now what we can do is we can do some overdubbing, right? So we've got the band playing, and what I'm going to do is when I click this button, we're just in overdub mode, and it's just going to record over whatever I'm doing here. So I'm going to, let's see here, I'll make some so you saw the light turn yellow, and I recorded an overdub there. Now, let's say again, I'm not happy with that overdub. So I showed you before that I could clear the loop by holding this down for 2 seconds, right? But now holding down for 2 seconds will clear the overdub, right? So now I'm just back to what I was recording there. So again, I'll do another overdub here. And again, I'm going to use the foot switch in this case, and you'll see this light turn yellow. I'm just waiting to get back to around the progression. All right, here we go. Alright, so I added some extra bass notes in there, right, outside the bass itself. But you heard like a bad note in there, right? So again, hold that down and get rid of that. So there's the basics of looping with the trio. So since we have our backing track all recorded now, and we've got our loop and our overdub and our band playing, let's figure out a song to play with this thing, right? So we can pick a different style, right? We don't have to stay in blues. If we can pick, let's see, rock. Let me put some effects on this guitar and see how these effects sound for the rock genre. Right? Maybe, what's hip hop sound like? So got some fuzz in there or something. That's sort of fun. Now I'm not sure what that hip hop beat's going to sound like, but let's just take a glance at this. That's pretty grooving and slow, right? And I'm going to actually speed the tempo up just a little. So now I can just start playing along, right? And we're coming back around the progression here. Here. so I can keep changing styles within here, right? Or I can just, so again, same chord progression, right? But let's go to country. Now, still got my effects on, but these effects are going to sound a lot different with country. That's cool, right? Now, I can't do anything to play with this, but alright, so let's go back to rock here. Or what about alt rock here? So as you can see though, it's really inspiring, and you know what you want to play is really different depending on what you choose to do. So there's bad notes in there, but that gives you an idea of this. Super cool pedal, so you should definitely check one out. I hope you guys found this video informative. You know, the Digitech Trio Plus really is, in my opinion, one of the ultimate practice tools. It's super fun, it's inspired me in new ways, and I'm really enjoying it. I'll note that these pedals are pretty expensive. I got a package deal on Amazon. It came with the Trio, the Footswitch, and I think 3 or 4 different cables, and it was around $250. So that's pretty expensive. You can get just a regular looper, I think, for around $100 or so. So this may or may not be for you, but I'm really happy with my purchase. So if you guys like this video, please consider subscribing, and we'll catch you down the road.